Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be a Christmassy reading vlog, and the reason I'm doing this when I don't usually do many reading vlogs is that I'm having a depressive episode. A low-key one that started halfway through November, and it's now December 10th approximately, and I would really like to start getting into Christmas. Usually I am a little more and like really enjoying myself, and I think that'll work better if I share it as opposed to just doing it for myself. So we're gonna see if that works, and hopefully also provide you some entertaining content. Forgive the junk in my garden. We sometimes put our junk there. The reason I'm outside where there are trains and cars is that inside there is jet tub bath, which is in the room right next to my room, and there's just this low rumble in the background the whole time. So I'm not going to film much audio in there today, but I need to decorate my Christmas bookshelves, so I'll be showing you a sped up version of that, and maybe some other stuff. See you in a moment. Whenever I come outside, Arwen or Pippin, whoever's closest, will come up to me and want the pets, because when people come outside, it's so much more fun than people inside. But then they'll lead me on a merry chase for more pets, because can't hold still and be petted. That'd be terrible. Yes, you're so cute. I love you so much. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, so cute. Oh, so cute. Oh, such a pretty princess. Oh, such a pretty princess. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Is that your flower, Frodo? That's your special flower. Yeah. You're so cute. You're so cute. Yes, you are. Obligatory cat under tree footage. Very important part of any Christmas vlog. Yeah, that's yummy. It's the same day as the intro. I've just changed my shirt because I overheated. Despite the fact that it's like 65 in my room because the heater doesn't reach my room very well. Which is really nice in the winter that my room isn't as well aerated of the whole me overheating easily thing. But it's quite bad in the summer because then it's like 5 degrees hotter instead of 5 degrees cooler. But anyway, now I'm going to tell you what's going on with my reading. So basically I am trying to get my BIPOC authored books versus white people authored books percentage up before the end of the year. Right now it's at about 39%. I would like to hit 40 and then shoot for 50 next year. I didn't have a particular goal in mind at the beginning of this year in that way. I just wanted it to be more than last year, but I've gotten such good recommendations this year and have moved it higher on my priorities list, so I'm, you know, getting up there. So I'm feeling like next year I will be able to shoot for 50%. But my plan to get a little closer to equal this year is I am reading a bunch of short books, audiobooks, romances, and fast-paced books by BIPOC authors. So one that I just finished was The Good Luck Girls, which I have. And I didn't know it would be fast-paced, but it turned out to be, and I loved it so much. But I totally finished it before I started this vlog, so we'll review that for you later. I loved it, but it was super fast-paced, so I finished it in 2 or 3 days. And then I started Take a Hint, Danny Brown, because that's a romance, and I know that I read romances faster than fantasies with a lot of world building or anything remotely gritty. So I finished that in a day and a half, and then I finished my audiobook of The Only Good Indians, which was 8 hours long. That was a fairly short audiobook, and I just finished it. I'm not a horror person, so it wasn't up my alley, but I think it did good job of horroring, and it didn't do the seizures as a horror trope thing, and that people who have seizures in real life didn't appreciate. So that was nice. It was very gory. If you like dogs, I don't think you'll like that book. And it was really sad because it set up how nice things were before it wrecked everything, with the vengeance story of a deer who came to kill the people who killed her is what it's about. The ones that I'm currently reading, I started Parable of the Sower directly after that because I was like searching off the top of my head for books by BIPOC authors, and my library has a lot more physical and ebooks than it does audiobooks, but they have a really good backlog of classics in audiobooks, so I thought they would probably have stuff by Octavia Butler, and they do. So I've got one of those going now. I'm also currently reading the second book in the Love Sugar Magic series. It's called A Sprinkle of Spirits. I'm quite enjoying it. It's very cute, and this time we don't have the we can't tell our parents what's going on trope thing. So everybody's working to solve the problem as a family, and I really like that. I also really like the general magic system and world building and family dynamics that are in this story, so that's really nice. Then I'm also currently reading The Black God's Drums, which is a library book, and it has gone missing. It's a tiny little book. I know because it did last night, it can slip between the cushions of my couch, so that's where I'm going to look next. But I saw it not on my couch like an hour ago. It was in my room, and now it's not in any of the places I put books in my room, so I'm quite distressed by that. But it's only 100 pages, and it is rather heavy, much like The Parable of the Sower. It is a post-apocalyptic story set in the southern US, but everything else after that, it differs. So Parable of the Sower is set outside Los Angeles and is a very long book, 12 hours of audio. The Black God's Drums is about more science fiction-y with fancy technology going on and airships, and it's set in New Orleans. And of course it's very short. I'm not wanting to read anything that's dark and gritty and long that's not an audiobook, because with audiobooks it can just keep going on long, whereas I get slogged down when I'm reading physically. So it's a good thing that The Black God's Drums is very short, so I hopefully won't get bogged down in it. And then I just started reading The Heartbeat Braves, which is about 2 Native Americans in a city that I don't remember which one. Despite the worst lighting, I'm going to sit over here because that was hurting my back. Yes. And it's about one of them is reluctant to work with the center, and one of them, it's her whole thing, and it's a romance, so it's fairly interesting so far. The hero I don't find particularly likable, basically because he wants his mother to somewhat financially support him and give him food and lodging, but he gets mad at her when she tells him to get a job. Note, I have completely different feelings on this if the person is disabled or can't get a job, versus the book has been quite clear about him just not wanting to get any job that isn't his dream job and not being willing to get a temporary job to pay the bills while he works on a dream job on the side. But the way he interacts with the heroine I really like, and the fact that he can cook, is able to admit when he's wrong. Those are all pluses, so we'll see how it goes on. Oh, and I wanted to show you, I got some really cool mail today. Here's my cat. Once again, this is the same one that was outside. This is Arwen. She's my princess. She's the only girl. And she might be a little bit spoiled because of that. But it's okay because she's a princess. Yes. Yes, you're my princess. Yes, you are. But anyway, the mail I got was this. It's got all this pretty Christmassy washi tape on it. And it is a Merry Christmas card from Anna. They are a really nice booktuber, and they are also autistic. Some of the stuff that she sent me were some autism stickers, like ask me about my special interests and I love someone who's autistic, it's me, which was like so sweet. They are one of the founders of a disability readathon that I haven't taken part in yet, but that is really cool. And they're also really into D&D and creating characters, and they sing songs on their channel sometimes that are like created for their D&D campaigns. And they do a lot of cosplay on Instagram. So really cool person. I hope you check them out. But anyway, I think that is all that I'm currently reading. Switching between different books like this usually helps me keep going when I get stuck on a particular one, until I can until my mood switches back to be in the mood for reading the other books. So hopefully that will go fairly well, and I'll see you in the next update. I hit my 200 books with Heartbeat Braves. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads because I am generous with my stars generally. I didn't like the element that I told you about before, where the guy wouldn't get a job even though he's able-bodied and neurotypical, complains that his mom tries to get him a job even though she's the one who has to deal with paying for all his stuff when he doesn't get one. Bugged me a lot, and continued to bug me right up to the end of the book. Everything else was quite nice, hearing about how the center worked and how they struggled with people being jerks and just shutting them out of meetings the city didn't want to take, and quite a lot of racism in that area, and about all of them working together, and the elder program that the main female character ran to take meals to the elderly and kind of get them socialized when they were quite isolated was really nice. And basically I really loved everything except the hero, and everything about him was great except for this whole thinking he doesn't need to have a day job that's because day jobs make him feel bored. But the next books in the series are going to be, think about the different characters we've already been introduced to. So I'm very excited to read those. My library is buying the second one in the series. I bought the first one because it was only 99 cents on Kindle, and so I look forward to that one. I also both started and finished Bring On the Blessings by Beverly Jenkins. I've really enjoyed books by Beverly Jenkins before, so I decided to try another of hers. My library doesn't have too many of the ebooks of hers. It has a few more in the physical copies of her books, so I didn't have a huge amount to choose from, even though she's a very prolific author. There's like 4 different series of hers on my library, and she's written like 20 probably. But Bring On the Blessings is the first in a series about a little town. It was started back right after the Civil War, when black people were immigrating to the north. They started this town that was all black people, and in Kansas, and now in whatever time this is set in, relatively recently. It goes up for sale because they have huge taxes they owe on it, and they have no like consumer base. There's only 52 people who live in the town now because lots of people moved away, and so they put it up for sale as a whole town, and this really rich black lady buys it because she got a huge amount of money in a divorce settlement from her cheating husband, and she's got like 275 million, and so the town costs like 3 million, I think. So she gets that, and she wants to start this thing where they bring in foster parents and foster kids specifically to live there. Plus she's doing a lot of construction to build homes for them, and also a rec center and eventually a clinic and things like that. So it's a little bit less likely to fail than some projects. They don't have like some person who's willing to just dump money into a place. And I think that was really cool. I have said before that I am part of a foster family. My sister was fostered. My parents were foster parents probably starting when I was 1 or 2. We've had, I think, just 3 foster children. The last one stayed since she was 2 for 18 years. But before that, we had a few who passed through. And so I have experience with that, but I've also done a lot of research into it that is different from my experience, because I want to be a foster parent when I have a reliable income. So this is very much my thing. So reading a book about it that was pretty much correct as far as I could see was really nice. The rich person, Mrs. Brown, also used to be a social worker, so she also has a lot of expertise in this area. And so it's all about her moving to this town, meeting the locals, figuring out how to work with the locals. Some of the locals don't agree with the plan, but most of them do. And then the bringing in of the foster parents and the bringing in of the foster kids, and making relationships with all of these people and figuring out who is the best to take care of each individual child. There are 5 of them, and exploring all the backgrounds of the children, what have they been through up to this point. And I just really loved it. It was a very sweet and mushy story. Not very high risk as far as like life and death stuff. It's more like, will the children be taken away by the state if they think that our system for taking care of them isn't good enough? Which is a thing. Some foster parents are really terrible and get away with a lot because oversight isn't good. But then some foster parents are really great and have the kids taken away for really picky reasons. One thing that wasn't talked about in this book is that a fair number of foster children aren't orphans or children who have permanently non-functional parents. A lot of them have temporarily non-functional parents who are ill with either mental illness or physical illness, and sometimes they get better and are able to take their kids back, and sometimes the kid has some kind of, usually in that case, physical illness that makes them special needs, and sometimes their parents aren't able to take care of those, and so they'll go to foster parents who are, and then if the kid gets better, they're able to go back to their original parents' homes. Also, there are circumstances like if there is a abuser in the child's biological home, if the other parent who is not abusing kicks the abuser to the curb, they can usually then get that child back after jumping through a lot of hoops, yes, but it is a thing. And the 2 kids that we had in my family before this 3rd child, who's my sister, they both were temporary and went back to their parents after either their parents or they got physically and mentally better. In the case of this book, it said that that Miss Brown has specifically picked those kids, so it makes sense that she would pick kids who had had their parents gone for a long time or were orphans who are probably not going to be going back to their parents because of the history of their parents. But that wasn't totally spelled out, it's just kind of implied. And also these foster kids were very sweet and wonderful people, and if you just grab 5 random kids who aren't in the foster system, you probably won't come up with 5 kids who are this wonderful and sweet and caring about other people. So that was a little unbelievable, but it was a very sweet story and very enjoyable in that way, so I didn't mind that too much. Just as long as people reading it know it's a little bit of a rose-tinted glasses situation. But I read it in like 3 days because it was just so enjoyable and light and fluffy. I didn't have to take a long time to think about it. There's a couple of romances, but they are definitely not the main focus. They are on the side, and I'm looking forward to reading more in this series because there are several more. And seeing more about the kids and their parents and how this whole town gets along. And I also finished Parable of the Sower, which was a very weird story. As I said, post-apocalyptic. Governments have mostly fallen apart. There's not enough food. The cops are more bad guys than not, which is arguably relatively true now, but like to a worse extent. And there's no jobs. There's also this drug that makes people like to kill people and set things on fire. There's a lot of setup, but eventually we end up running away from those types of people and being on the run a lot, and it's kind of, and that part reminded me of the Marrow Thieves. But guess what these people did? They set a watch. every stinking night. So that was very satisfying, and I really like that whole journeying part. That's all about surviving while on the run. The big funky thing about this book is that the main character is setting up her own sort of religion. It's called Earthseed, and this is like the Earthseed series, and she writes it down in her journal. It's basically philosophy that she refers to as religion, and it's all about how change is inevitable, but you can shape it and find your own power in that. But that helps her cope with a lot of bad things in her life, and it's something that she talks about to everybody that comes and joins her group, because it's like really important to her. It's her theory on how the world works. So that was probably the weirdest part about it, but I didn't mind too much, and there were a lot of things that I really liked about her. For one, she's what's called a sharer. Like, when other people get hurt, she fully shares their pain, sometimes even bleeds when they bleed. And like if somebody's injured, she will feel that part of her be non-functional. And that reminded me so much about how I hyper empathize, that it was really weird. Like, not quite to that extent, but it's really close. So that was really cool. I think I would like to continue that series, but because it would be interesting to see where this goes. Oh, and also my mom found my copy of the Black God's Drums. I had just left it somewhere, and I hadn't looked there yet, and I am 70 pages through the 100-page book, and I'm really liking it. It's not actually post-apocalyptic. It's like an alternate history with funky sci-fi technology, so a little bit steampunky-ish, but without the very specific thing of everything being steam-powered. There are airships, and there's this chemical weapon that you shoot into the sky, and it makes horrible weather happen. That's what the Black God's Drums are. And our main character and a number of other awesome women are trying to keep somebody from setting that off or it getting into bad guys' hands. The reason I film so much in this chair, by the way, is because it's super comfortable. But anyway, it is December 19th, and a few days ago I made these cookies because I'm getting into the Christmas baking thing, right? And so the first ones I wanted to make were these marshmallow cookies that are basically Rice Krispie treats but with cornflakes. I don't like cornflakes because I don't like corn flour in sweet things. I like it in savory things. But anyway, they're supposed to be really cute. It's a classic treat that people have made for years. And I did everything according to the recipe. I added some extra marshmallows because there wasn't very good coverage of the cornflakes that they told me to put in. But other than that, I followed it exactly. And they're supposed to be really dark green, really good coverage of, you know, the cornflakes. And you're supposed to be able to shape them into wreaths and with a little hole in the middle without burning yourself. And I did put water on my finger like was suggested, and you're also supposed to be able to put sprinkles on them. And then they're supposed to come off of the wax paper without it having been sprayed with oil or anything. You're just supposed to put them on regular wax paper. Let me show you this. So they were all still on their pieces of wax paper, because when you try to take them off the wax paper, this happens, and it just partially sticks and partially just, you're gonna eat wax paper now. So, fortunately my mom really likes the taste, so when we managed to get them off the wax paper, she likes them. I don't like the taste because I can definitely taste the cornflakes through the marshmallow. I thought that the marshmallow would cover up that. Plus, they're peppermint ones, so you'd think that would cover up the taste of cornflakes, but no. Also, it's really hard to make a hole in it that goes all the way through because you have to do it while it's really hot so that it's not hardened yet, and also it's really hard to shape them when they're like that, even if you get all your fingers wet. And then, even when they're too hot to handle easily, they are not sticky enough for this stuff to stick very well, so they're not nearly as well covered in sprinkles as I would like either. And so this is like the shape that it has. Christmas baking fail. For contrast, these ones are really delicious. They're like triple chocolate hazelnut. So they've got Nutella, chocolate chips, a cup of cocoa powder for like 3.5 cups flour. So they're very chocolatey. They're kind of like dark chocolate with nuts and chunks in. The dough actually isn't as good as the cooked version for once. So the cooking it gives it this nice crunchy bit that really goes well with the chocolate and lightens it up a bit. So you still need milk with it because it's quite rich, but I highly recommend. So I will try to remember to put the recipe for these in the description or a link to a recipe. I just gotta show you the whole of this Christmas sweater. So it's eat, drink, and be meowy with jingly ornaments. And it's also got black cats on it, which was the main selling point of why I had to have it. So, also you should enjoy my hair thing with Belle on. So I need to review the last 2 books I've been reading in this week and a half. So I just finished The Black God's Drums and I really enjoyed it. It was vast majority female characters. Our main secondary character is bisexual and she is a pirate captain smuggler of an airship. And our main character is also really enjoyable, and they are both hosts to some African Haitian gods. And in this alternate history, New Orleans is part of a free area, a very small free area that is neither with the Union nor the Confederacy after the Civil War. Neither the Confederacy nor the Union won the Civil War, so now there's like 3 separate little countries, and so there's a lot of like smuggling going on between those countries. And I really liked the ending. That was really cool. And I also really enjoyed all the characters. There are some nuns, and it was just really enjoyable. And I don't usually get so attached to characters in a 100-page book, but I really did in this one, so really nice. Then there is A Sprinkle of Spirits, part of the Love, Sugar, Magic series that I really liked. The whole family of Brujas got in on solving the problem, and I also really liked the bringing in of other characters in this book. And there was a lot of talk about relationships and keeping secrets, and how sometimes relationships are more valuable than secrets, but sometimes secrets are more important than being totally open with people. And I really liked that discussion. There was also stuff about grief and letting go, because Sprinkle of Spirits is all about some spirits coming back from El Otro Lado, the other side, and we don't know why or how to send them back where they're supposed to be, and why should they be ghosts? Can't they just stay here and be alive? And then we also get to see baking magic, where they make a special pastry that helps them find things. And the main character herself was quite a bit more likable in this book because she's telling the truth a lot more, and she's doing all of this for other people, whereas the primary reason for doing things in the last book was just to play with magic for her own enjoyment. So very nice book. I look forward to reading the next one. I've actually got it on audiobook already, so I'll be listening to that soon. And I have improved my BIPOC reading statistics, so I'm happy with that. And now through the end of the year, I just need to read a 1-to-1 ratio to maintain that, and that shouldn't be difficult at all. Have a Merry Christmas. I will see you again before the new year probably, and I hope you're having a wonderful winter so far, or a nice beginning of summer if you are in the southern hemisphere. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to leave an emoji, how about a Christmassy one or a cat one? And I will see you in the next video. Bye!